Alright, so I'm doing a live response to this video. Should be interesting. None of this is scripted. I'm just going off my first impressions. I'm gonna respond to each of his points individually.
Hello, how's it going? I'd like to address what I like to think are two of the most popular questions in the flat earth world, and they come from ball earthers or globe heads, globbers, whatever you want to call them. They always have the same questions, and so I'd like to give my own take on what the answers to those same questions are. First one they always ask is, what difference does it make if it's a globe or if it's flat? Well, what difference does it make if Santa Claus is real or if you actually have to go out and buy those fucking presents and work hard to earn that money? Hey, here's something. Next time Christmas rolls around, just sit around and wait for fucking Santa Claus to bring you presents. I'm pretty sure if you're not 10 years old, you really not coming. It's your money. And you figured that out, right? So what is another secret? Kind of like Santa, where they're stealing your money and showing you cartoons and CG while they steal your money. Wouldn't that make a difference if it was a globe or if it was flat? Because they keep showing you cartoons?
And, he does have a point. Those who are questioning what their motives would be would now have an answer to what would be most probable. The only thing that, of course, this is just one question. He's responding to that one question, you know. But honestly, there doesn't have to be a motive because all, the evidence kind of lies in the face of that. And I'm not just talking about, you know, proofs for why um the earth is round and not flat. I'll put a link to a video series that does a good job at explaining that in the description. But we base so many of just things we take for granted every day on the assumption that the earth is round. And it's not an assumption in the sense of, we're just pretending. No, that's not it at all. Like the mechanics of the world, like how we can predict weather patterns, you know, um, how seasons change, all these things dependent on our relationship with the sun and the tilt of the earth and whatnot. Gravity, the tides being affected by the moon. There's all these things that would just fall apart if the earth was not round. So I think that's something else to bear in mind.
Of a globe. They show you CGI of a globe. They show you Hollywood trickery of a globe. They're stealing your fucking money. If it's flat, that begs the question, hey, what the hell have you been showing us this ball for all this time? What have you been doing with our money? Did you guys go to space? Is evolution actually real? Did you guys just make this shit up? See, these are the questions we need to be asking. There might be more land out there to be discovered. There might be a fucking firmament up there. We don't know. They've stolen our mind from us and stuck us on a cartoon ball. They stole your mind. They stole my mind. I just recently gained my mind back from being stolen. What do they have to gain by lying? They know what your mind is thinking. They've stolen it from you. What did
I'm not sure I should make a comment on this. It just feels like very, cult-like, mentality. Like we know something that you don't know, you know. But I mean, it does make sense for the motive of, if they want to, save tax money on, say, you know, things that they're not actually doing, that they're just wasting somewhere else. I don't know what they'd be wasting it on, is like they're stealing it and showing that they're using it for these specific projects, whether or not, it's actually occurring. I suppose this probably leads into conspiracy theory territory where now they're all like, you know, they're just not showing us what they're actually doing with it. They're actually like testing some, you know, end times sort of bomb or whatever. I don't even know what they would use it on, but there's probably something. And he's probably gonna explain it to us at some point. What is supposedly going on? But yeah, it's very I don't know. It's like, sure, there could be a motive, but why is there?
do they have to gain? They know what you believe is bullshit. That's something to gain. If you owned 100 slaves and you told them they came from the purple spaghetti monster in the sky and that they'll get into purple spaghetti monster heaven if they serve you and be good slaves, and if they believe that, wouldn't that fucking benefit you?
Now, he's kind of in the wrong here. He's kind of at a loss, in a certain sense of the phrase, because, I'm very, let's just say, opposed to a strong authoritarian government, in all angles. Um, but I, of course, believe in what we've gathered with scientific research and mountains of data that um the Earth is spherical. Say it's all been fabricated in some grand conspiracy. However, they managed to do that. They don't have my mind, so what he's saying is just false.
They basically stole our minds and enslaved us by showing us a picture of a ball. Said, here's what you live on, it's a ball. And then they show us a ball. And here's a different picture of a ball. And everyone's just like, yeah, that's the same place. It doesn't matter if the colors of the continents change. It doesn't matter if the color of the oceans change. It doesn't matter if the continents change sizes.
I wonder if that picture is real. Is there anything in the description? Oh, it doesn't look like it. Hmm. Well, I have no evidence. I mean, maybe on some archive site or whatever, you can find it. If you want to point me out to it later, that'd be great. Uh, you know, like I said, I'm doing this live, so I can't really. I should probably start doing this, talking less and just getting through the video because I don't want this to be like an hour and a half long. But at this rate, it probably will be at least an hour.
Change locations. Whenever I point out to people that the continents are changing sizes and locations, you know what they say? That's just the angle of the camera. all those pictures are taken with different cameras, and it's just the angle of the camera why they look different. The angle of the fucking camera shouldn't make the North American continent double in size. The angle of the camera shouldn't make the North American continent go from a green landscape to a fucking desert continent. You ever notice how clear the pictures are? Where are the fucking clouds? Every amateur video that we take, anytime you go up in a plane, you see a massive bunch of cloud cover. It's rare that you can see everything very clear. And it's funny, when NASA goes to space, it's so clear. The pictures of the Earth, they're just crystal clear. There's no clouds. There's very little cloud cover.
It's like... I think I'll just install this right now. Shouldn't take long. Oh, is there any... Okay. Installing. Well, I mean, this is probably a bad way to go at it because, they probably just want to, show you how it all looks. And there's probably some scientific explanation, just might not, have clouds. It's probably because they want this to be more educational about, the way places generally look, and if there's, clouds everywhere, it kind of screws with that. And I don't know what he's saying, because, like, I guess a better way to have done this is just look Earth. I've seen clouds, like, in these... Yeah, see, look at all those clouds at the bottom of this image right here. You see all that? And you're telling me that they're just... there's just no clouds anywhere. And look at where there's no clouds, too. Africa. I mean, yeah, even it's how this is changing over time. In places where you would not expect to see clouds, there is no cloud. So I don't get what he's getting at with this. Anyhow, let's not dwell on this.
You can just see all the continents and right through to the blue ocean. But if you watch an amateur balloon video where they go up 20, 30 miles high above the Earth, it's a flat horizon and it's white and you can't even see.
The horizon is just so barely curved at that height that you don't really see the curve. I mean, it's there. And you keep on going higher and you can see a slight curve. And if you were to go like miles and miles high, like even higher than that, you would definitely see much more of a curve. Plus, even with a circular Earth, don't you think that you would see a curve at some point? Like, I don't get why he's opposed to the idea of there being a curve. Anyhow, yeah, the videos that I'm gonna link in the description are gonna go in more depth about these things I'm talking about, if you're interested.
See the Earth anymore. Once you get up that high, it just washes out. That's the thing. The higher you get, the less you see. The higher you get, the less you see. The farther away you get, the less you see. The farther away you get from a mountain, you just see a silhouette of a mountain. You don't see every little detail in that mountain. It's just a silhouette and it hazes out the same way the ground does. The ground hazes out the higher you get. It's a white haze. That's why in the amateur balloon videos of the flat earth, it's a white haze. You can't see it anymore. You're up too high. There is no picture of an edge or bullshit like that. You go up that high, you can't see down below. That's why they keep showing you fake pictures, because you can't see the earth down below. It's a flat, white horizon. Go back and look at that jump that guy did.
I mean, is he seriously under the illusion that there's no such thing as a sunny day? That there are just clouds everywhere all the time? Yeah, like you can show us a picture of a day when there are lots of, clouds at a certain elevation, but I'm pretty sure that there's, you know, some places where that's not the case. I mean, like you can, and plus it's probably all about angle. Come to think of it, I mean, like when you look directly up in the sky, do you see any clouds? No, I don't think so. So what I'm thinking is when you're in a plane, looking out to the side, you can see more of the white and less of, you know, I'm not entirely sure how this works, so you're probably gonna have to look at, um, you know, my idea is that perhaps looking at it directly perpendicular to the sky is probably how you're going to end up seeing through the clouds to the continents, or something like that.
The edge of space. I forget it's Felix, whatever his name was, when he does the jump at the edge of space. When he opens the door, it's a flat white horizon. When he jumps, you see this curve and you see this big, massive landmass, and you don't see any ocean. Go back and watch that video. Felix, whatever the hell his name is, doing the jump at the edge of space. At the
There's a
edge of
slight curve.
space. When he opens the door to jump, you see a flat white horizon. When he jumps, you see this ball curve indicative of a fisheye lens. And here's how you know it's a fisheye. Everything in the curve and of the earth shown is a landmass, a brown desert looking landmass. The earth is supposedly 70% water, right? Oceans? And there are no oceans in that. Just a big glob of brown. And people always say, here's proof it's a ball. Here's Felix, whatever the fuck his name is, jumping from the edge of space. And it's proof, man, it's a ball. And I have to repeat myself over and over. When he opens the door, it's a white, flat horizon. When an amateur balloon goes up, it's a flat, white horizon. There is no curve, man. There ain't no curve. And I'm tired of people saying there's a goddamn curve. You know how many people change their story about the curve? I'll argue with somebody in a thread, and 10 people will jump against me. And they'll all say different things about the curve. One person will say, I went on top of my roof and saw the curve, so you're stupid. Another person will say, on top of my building, my apartment complex, and I saw the curve. Another person will say, I went on top of the Empire State Building and saw the curve, so you're wrong, stupid. Another person will say they went up in a balloon and saw the curve. Another person will say they went up in a plane and saw the curve. That one's popular. I went out on a plane and I saw the curvature of the earth.
Wait a second. You know what's wrong with that picture? Oh, you're seeing the white horizon. Whoever's in that plane is not looking down at the earth. I mean, like, if you could look downwards, I mean, it's the effect of them having um gone that high is completely negated by the fact that what they are watching is not that far below them currently. That's not the ground they're looking at. That's the massive clouds. How dishonest. Like seriously. Because I mean, like plain view. Let's see if we can find something. I'm not sure exactly how to phrase the question. Um, yeah, I'm looking for one that's like high enough and where there's no clouds, but that looks like one that would be hard to find. I think this one is about right. I mean, you can see a slight curve. You know, the horizon's kind of blurry, but you can see it if you trace, the yellow in the distance. It's, and we're not actually looking for something major here. You know, because for it to be that significant, it would have to be, you'd have to see the whole of the United States of America, and you can't breathe on a plane at that altitude. The plane would completely malfunction. Yeah, see, and it's more apparent in here, at least slightly more apparent. You know, just looking through these. I wonder if this video gets flagged because I'm showing copyrighted photos or whatever. Yeah, well, I mean, you could look it up. You know,
So therefore you're wrong. Actually, no, you didn't. There is no curve. I've been on plenty of planes and there's no fucking curve. And if you think you see it, your window is slightly curved. There ain't no curve. You know how you can check? There's a measurement. There's a measurement to measure the curve. It's supposed to drop 8 inches per mile, and you have to square the mile. So the first mile, you should feel 8 inches of curvature drop, or you should be able to measure 8 inches of curvature drop. The second mile, now you have to square the mile. So you got 2 times 2, which is 4, times 8, which is 32. So that's 32 inches. The next one has to drop.
am I the only one who thinks that math is horrible? I mean, I'm not sure if that's a legitimate equation, if that's an antiquated equation, but I would think that once you're going a mile above something that, okay, let's look at surface area of the Earth, or circumference, I guess would be better. Is it better? I don't know. Let's look at both. 24,901 miles, increasing 1 mile above the Earth to perceive, a curve of 8 inches. And plus, what is the 8 inches from, you know, the bottom left portion to the middle? Is that what we're looking at, or are we looking at the length of the line? Increasing from, I don't know how many inches from. Well, it wouldn't be 0 inches at start, so I guess that's probably out of the question. But then look at surface area of Earth. About 196.9 million miles. Million miles. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure entirely that I understand how this math equation was contrived and how to properly use it, so
Next mile has to drop.
maybe
And this
that's just my
continues.
bad.
And at 50 miles, we're at 1,667 feet of drop and curvature. We can see things 50 miles away. Check out the Chicago skyline. Google Chicago skyline mirage. Chicago skyline mirage. They'll tell you what you're seeing is a fucking mirage. That's the Chicago skyline 50 miles away across Lake Michigan. That's no fucking mirage. That's your eyes seeing what's really there. They're explaining away what your eyes see. They want to tell you it's a mirage. Look up a superior mirage. It's an inverted image. You'll see a ship inverted over the top of a ship or a ship floating way above the ground. It'll look like a fucking mirage. Have you ever seen a mirage, like water disappearing off in the distance? It looks like a mirage. The Chicago skyline doesn't look like a mirage across Lake Michigan on a clear day. You can see it with your eyes.
I don't know. I don't have
And
any
you know
answer for
what the
that.
globe earthers say? Refraction. It's refraction. Or another one, it's mirage. Everything's a mirage or a refraction, right? So you just throw away your eyes. Your eyes are wrong. And here's another one I'm fucking tired of. You can you can see the curvature of the earth when the ships disappear over the horizon. No, when it disappears from your eyesight, you simply use a telescope and you can bring it back into view completely, whole mass and all. And you know what? They say you're lying. I say go to the
Mortimer deals with this in one of his videos that I'm gonna link in the description, so yeah. I'm not entirely sure how he explains it, but this whole thing, I'm not sure if I even already told you that he does. But he does, so yeah, I don't want to make this too long. I'm just gonna keep on going until I find some new ground to comment on.
fucking beach and take your telescope, watch a boat disappear with your eye, whip out your telescope and fucking look at it. I'm tired of the same old arguments. Boats over the horizon? Bullshit. Whip out your telescope and you'll see it. You went up on top of your house and saw the curvature. You went on a plane and saw the No, you didn't. There is no curvature. Go try and fucking measure it. You have to measure it on water, okay? Try and measure it on a long canal. Try and measure it on sea. Use a laser level. Take a really, really long piece of rope. Do whatever you gotta do to try to measure this supposed curvature and film it. And then post it. And if your curvature is real, well then all us flat earthers will look stupid, huh?
You
So
already
show
do.
me your homegrown experiments, because our homegrown experiments, like the Bedford level experiment, they show a flat earth every single time. There is no curvature. You know how I know? I tried to debunk the flat earth and I failed. That's how most of us get started. We try to debunk the flat earth and we fail. I'm tired of the same old fucking arguments. They're bullshit, man. People say, well, go look at the planets. The planets are spheres, so that means we're a sphere. No. Whip out a telescope. I've got one. Whip out your telescope and look at Mars. It's a dot of light. It's an orange dot. And then when you look at a NASA image, it's this desert world with canyons and ice and craters and shit. But when you look at it through an amateur telescope, like a good amateur telescope, not one from fucking Walmart, like a good one, it's an orange dot. It's not a desert world with canyons and shit that they went to. There's no over on Mars. They're prepping us with movies like The Martian so they can steal our money on a fake trip to Mars, just like they stole our money on a fake trip to the moon.
Well, either way, I don't think that many things should be publicly funded, so if it's my choice, I mean, no one's stealing my money anyways. Donate to scientific foundations that I feel are worthwhile, sure. So, well, I mean, suppose I guess then on that account, if I were to believe that this, was important research, then they would need to. But, I think people would want proof then. They wouldn't be able to just get the government's okay. They would have to get the people's okay. So, I mean, I think then this movement of flat earthers would be actually a beneficial thing because that would create a demand for people who are going to, you know, push for this. Okay, we want proof. We're not going to just fund you just because. We want you to convince us. So, I mean, they'd take someone, like, say, this flat earth asshole, like, as his name is, and they would, you know, send him to the moon or whatever, and he would say for himself, wow, I was wrong, and then convince all these people, and then all these people would then fund them. That's how it would work in a voluntary society, so.
We never went to the moon. There is no space. All the planets they're showing us are fucking CGI. There is no outer space to go to. The sun and the moon are real. The planets they show us are not real, man. Not the ones NASA shows us. Look at it through a telescope. Jupiter has like some lines on it, faint lines. When you look at it on a NASA image, it's got this red eyeball and all this gassy swirliness going on. It's fake, man. Saturn, you can see these little rings and it's just a faint image. It doesn't look like a gas ball world that they show you. Every
Well, I mean, obviously at that distance, and that doesn't really do anything to counter the claim that does look like that. What you really mean to say is, yeah, I don't have sufficient evidence. I mean, sure, whatever. You can make that claim. I'm not entirely sure how. I mean, like, we have video evidence of rockets taking, or spaceships taking launch, flying into space, and not coming back until, you know, a while later. So, I mean, I would think that would be some proof. I don't know his burden of proofs, or his burden of evidence, so I think we're just gonna leave this part alone until he does, maybe.
image NASA shows of those huge detailed planets is a CGI fake. Use your eyes you were created with to look at them and decipher the bullshit. Better yet, go back and look at the lunar module, the original pictures of the lunar module. It's a piece of shit. Anyone can figure out NASA's a fraud if you use your eyes and a critical brain. If you look with your eyes and you just stare at NASA images, you will notice they're bullshit. They're fake. It's a grand illusion. And they've got answers to explain away the grand illusion. They've got an answer for everything. You don't see the stars in space, because blah blah blah, it's too dim. They have an answer for that. You know what the real answer why you don't see stars in any of their images from space is because it's too hard to fake, and any astronomer worth their salt would bust their ass. That's why you don't see stars in space. It's because it's too hard.
Well, this one looks like it could have been faked. I mean, not to say that I think it necessarily has to be, but there are stars there, so I mean, like he's talking but specifically about NASA's images. So we'll look for NASA Earth. Although he'd probably say they updated it to try and trick you or whatever. And plus, that wouldn't be hard to fake. I mean, if your concept is that, you know, well, no, I mean, I guess technically it doesn't work from that perspective. I mean, if your concept was right and there was like stars on the opposite side or whatever, but that's not what we're at here because it doesn't even show your version of it. What I would actually say is, there are arrangements you can put it in the sky That would be, basically, if you were to take it from a 3D angle and flip it around, it would still make sense. The stars are not, you know, how to put it. The constellations change because the tilt of the Earth is changing, and we can perceive different stars and different patterns. Like it's hard to explain this, verbally, but it's not hard to conceive of how they could fake stars if it was their intention to fake stars. So I mean that claim from him is kind of bogus, but I do think apparently this is from NASA. I do think it's kind of weird that there are no stars, but then again, I haven't really heard any explanations for why. It could be a very good explanation. In fact, I bet there probably is. Most likely. 99.9% chance. But, at the moment, I'll give him this one. Sure.
Hard to fool. Once you leave Earth and you're somewhere else, the stars are going to be in different spots. Amateur astronomers would spot this from a mile away and bust their ass. So to get around this, they came up with an excuse that they don't have to show you stars because you just can't see them. That's a fucking good excuse, NASA. Another thing they did with the lunar module is they've updated the pictures to look better. If you go back and look at the 1969 lunar module, it looks like a piece of shit held together with gold tinfoil tape. You can see tinfoil literally on there. You can see like scotch tape and like curtain rods and shit. It's a concoction of shit. And then recently, NASA has re-released some photos of a new lunar module that looks way better. Go back and check
Sorry.
out the 1969 original photos of the lunar module and zoom in. Just zoom in and stare.
Well, I mean, if they're saying that these new redone photos are, legitimate, that might be one thing. But I mean, I'm not sure what context that photo was taken in. The one with the first one he showed, the one with like astronaut, standing there. They could have just edited it for, just fashion reasons. Like I don't know. It doesn't have to be the original photo. It's just kind of like when you make a poster for a movie, like you don't have to make, use what you actually used in the movie. You can just, have models, pose how you want them and whatnot. Have the actors, but no, it's not a matter of them faking doing that. Like, plus, you can't say, oh, that's obviously fake because it looks, so shoddily made or whatever. No, it actually did happen like that. It's just like when you look at, examples like, not everything that is super strong looks super strong. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but there are plenty of examples if you just think about it. I know that's not a good way to put it. That's why I'm disappointed I can't really think of anything right now, but you put something in gold leaf paint or whatever, just put clothes or something like, I don't know, a mastador. Is that what it's called? Um, Enough of me not knowing. Let's just move on.
Stare. Spend a few minutes just staring at the lunar module. Spend a few minutes staring at NASA's fake planets. If you use your eyes and your brain properly, with with an open mind, you will find out the greatest truth man has ever known. Space is fake. There is no outer space. It's all a movie. And guess who's paying for it? Us taxpayers. The earth is flat. There is no curvature. Come up with some new arguments, because your tired ass arguments aren't working. And it doesn't matter who you get to hire to co-opt this flat earth movement. We will win. Hire Tila Tequila. Hire anybody you want to make us look crazy. When anyone goes out to measure that curve for themselves, they're gonna find out it doesn't fucking exist. When anybody looks at that lunar module, and I'm gonna see to it they will, they're gonna see it. It looks like a homeless tweaker's shelter. It did not land on the fucking moon. I am the flat earth asshole. And I'm gonna bring NASA down. And when NASA falls, evolution, Darwinism, space.
This guy doesn't believe in evolution. What an idiot. Am I right? But I mean, that's an entirely different topic from this video. You know, flat Earth, whatever. We can't really. That's not something I oftentimes think of. Of course, it's kind of. I mean, I have seen the proofs for it. The video series that I'm going to link in the description, but it's not something I've been overly concerned with. But evolution, I've debated a lot of people on it, and arguments for creationism are just, they fall flat on their face, and in the wake of all, the evidence and logical, well, like all the reasons they give against, the logical reasons they try to give against the theory of evolution, which is a legitimate scientific theory, not just some guy got high and made up a hypothesis or whatever. Um, all the logical reasons they have against it are actually fallacious. And I've called them out on it, and they don't even understand what the theory of evolution is. How am I supposed to take their claims against it seriously? But anyways, that's an entirely different topic.
All the fucking fake planets in the heliocentric model are coming down with it. So I'm gonna spend my time focusing on NASA and their fake-ass moon landing. There's a bunch of generation of kids being born who never go back and look at it. I'm gonna see to it that they do. I'm gonna see to it that they look at that module. I'm gonna tell them to zoom in on it. I'm gonna tell them to share it with their friends. The younger generation is gonna find out space is not real. And next time NASA shows us some bullshit and says, hey, we're going to Mars, we can all stand on our own 2 feet and say, fuck you, you're not going to Mars, you're stealing our money, and we don't believe you anymore. This is the Flat Earth asshole signing out.
Alright, well, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.